So the next question people are asking is, well, how did I get it? And how do I know if I have it?
So why is it there?
So don't think that your skin has to look like that in order to be dealing with an overgrowth. I think we can confidently say that Cris, 99.9% of our clients have had some level of overgrowth in their gut.
How do we not? If we've traveled, we've been exposed to things.
Every time. Especially Dutches, where people come like, can I run a Dutch? Because I want to see my hormones. I'm like, nope, not right now.
Their minerals and their sulfur pathways are completely like jammed.
This is Keep It Clear. Real conversations about skin, acne, and women's health without the overwhelm. Because you deserve answers that actually make sense. Today's episode starts now. I've had a few big viral posts that have hit like 1 million, 2 million in the last few months.
Really?
Yeah. One of them,
I don't overly social. I don't look at the numbers, right? I look at the content.
Exactly. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
But one of the posts, I think it got around 400,000 views, was about the stool analysis and the most common things we've seen in a stool analysis test.
Oh.
And I wanted to do a whole podcast on this because we got some good nuggets, no pun intended, as you see what I did there. Okay, so I wanted to bring this up because, Cris, out of the hundreds of stool analysis, whether it's a GI map, a gut zoomer that we've run, we have seen a lot of patterns emerge from our acne clients. So I thought we should break down these patterns so people can start working on this with maybe not having to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a functional test. Like, we love functional labs, but if we can get some work done first, I think that's going to be really beneficial to someone.
Okay, well, let's tell them how to save money.
Who doesn't like to save money in this economy, right?
I love saving money.
It's Chris's favorite thing, actually.
My
Nothing gets her more excited.
loves spending money. It is constantly a struggle.
And it's reverse at our house. I love to spend. My husband is physically unwell. So let's talk about how we can save some people some money.
Frank, me too, buddy. Me too.
Yeah. You and Frank should just live together. Steve and I would be in the poorhouse, probably having
We could not.
panhandling.
You guys would be panhandling, probably making mint.
Yeah, absolutely.
Frank and I
Steve
would be hermits and broke.
Yeah.
But
Frank's
still, because we don't want to touch our money.
Absolutely not. Frank's like, I could live off a bag of rice for the rest of my life. And I was like, okay.
He totally could. And bread.
He totally could. And bread. So the patterns we see, right? We see infection patterns, we see leaky gut patterns, and we see digestive patterns. So we're going to go through each one of these umbrellas. But Cris, let's start with infections and the top gut infections that we see.
So when you say like infections, I start to think of those pathogens, like the E. coli's, like the the salmonella, like those types of, just so everybody understands. And when I look at that, we don't often see many. If we do, it's going to probably be the E. coli. That would be the number one.
Yeah.
Oddly, I've seen maybe one or two others, but like E. coli. And interesting, every time I've seen E. coli, they were previously at a hospital or worked at a hospital.
Or had a pet raccoon.
Oh, yeah, or had a pet raccoon. Yes. That's the other one. I was like, okay, yes.
Yeah, we were like, oh, the raccoon, that's where we got the E. coli from. So outside of the E. coli, let's talk about some of like the bacterial kind of things we could be seeing in the gut, right?
So like those gut infections versus overall encompassing pathogens. So like we're talking like H. pylori, SIBO, IMO, hydrogen sulfides, these types of things, parasites.
So the ones that we see the most is going to be H. pylori, which over 50% of the world's population has. Fun fact, you can also be asymptomatic. We see SIBO, which stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And we
the methane dominant overgrowth.
Candida, which is a yeast. And we'll break these down, you guys. And then the two that we heavily see for acne are staph and strep.
Yeah. And kind of autoimmune-ish.
Very autoimmune-ish.
Right?
So the next question people are asking is, well, how did I get it? And how do I know if I have it?
Contact. Let's go back to living in bubbles. You know, this is the most valuable advice I can tell people. Wash your hands. Don't share drinks. Do not share forks. Like, fine, you might want to kiss people here and there. Even strep, right? Like, it's contact, it's fluids. And the thing is we just want to be careful, because if we can guard against it, right? Even drinking dirty water, we can get some, Blastocystis hominis, like we can get some parasites, some Giardia. Like, those, not all of them dirty water, but I'm just saying like, so we can get that. So this is why you and I are constantly going, okay, we want clean drinking water. We want to take out, I'd rather reverse osmosis and take it all out and remineralize it than have to guess what I'm drinking. And you can tell when your RO system goes off because even your husband that cannot even smell heavy perfume because I'm pretty sure there's no sensory there. When he's like, the water tastes off, I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, I know, it's been off for about 2 weeks. He goes, oh, I just noticed it today. Right? So it's these types of things. But yeah, 100%.
And other ways that you can be getting overgrowth in your gut is antibiotics. Antibiotics are going to go in, they're going to wipe out the good and bad bacteria, and they're going to allow the bad bacteria and yeast to set up shop and be like, this is our new home. We're going to hang out here.
Candida. And acne.
Huge.
And rounds of acne. I mean.
Rounds of antibiotics, you mean?
No, like rounds and rounds of acne after the antibiotics. I just hadn't finished my, and it goes away and it's like, oh, it's great. And then, oh, I need it again. And that crutch is detrimental to potentially that gut terrain, right?
So the antibiotic use, the birth control use, which alters your gut microbiome, processed diet, like if we're eating a lot of sugar, that's going to be feeding the wrong bugs in our gut. Alcohol, like all of those classic things that we know aren't good, going to be disrupting our gut's microbiome.
Yeah, stress, 100%. But things that people don't think about is low fiber diversity. So there are commensals inside our body that thrive on certain fibers, and if we don't feed it, why do we think repopulating it with a probiotic is going to be sufficient? No, we still haven't fed it. So listen, I can bring in 1 million migrants in here. If I don't feed them, oops. You know what I mean? It's they can't thrive. They can't do. So this is why we have to set up that terrain.
Yeah. The low fiber diets, the low plant diversity. If we're not getting, because
even low protein digestion,
low protein,
like low stomach acid.
Other reasons is, that's where I was going next, is what if you have low stomach acid? Your stomach acid is keeping the bad bacteria and yeast at bay, and is especially important for things like H. pylori. And yes, H. pylori can cause low stomach acid, and low stomach acid can cause H. pylori. So it's like this vicious cycle, but also looking at your digestion.
And H. pylori can live in high stomach acid too. So people with ulcers, you're not saved. It's just the versatility. So H. pylori is a bacteria, but I always say, I wonder why it's a bacteria. This little nugget, because of the way it survives, it really acts like a virus. And what I mean by that is, on a stool analysis, we might see active H. pylori or a Zoom or whatever it is we're looking for. The difference is it could also be dormant, meaning it's registering, but it's dormant. And viruses do it, like, EBV does it, HSV, what are some others? HPV, it's in my head. So they lie dormant. And then when the body is compromised, they're like, oh my gosh, let's go out and play. And then we get cold sores, or, you know what I mean? We get warts, or, there's this multifactorial thing going on inside the body.
Another component about the overgrowth is other bacteria allowing them to come on and hang out, right? We'll often see H. pylori alongside, say, staph.
Well, for sure, if we don't have our first line defense and we don't have adequate stomach acid and we can't chelate out our minerals, what foundation do we have? So I always say, we really have to look at that upper digestive first, right? How we're breaking down our foods, chewing our foods. How long are we creating saliva? My goodness, if you are not creating saliva, please stop eating. Because we need this. It's that we have lingual lipase, and that kind of starts a little bit of that fat transaction. And of course, we know that the carbohydrates through amylase are going to start breaking down. We have teeth for mastication, so for chewing. We need to chew our food. That's why it's there. Again, like Steve's the highlight today, right? Steve's a chew, gulp, chew, gulp, chew, gulp, because I'm constantly on him, And if you want to know if you're a great chewer, and I've probably used this before, take a banana, chew it to the point that it is almost liquid-like, not gelatin-like, liquid-like, and tell me how many times you gag. Because that bite was too little. So stop this and do it, because I'm going to tell you how much of a banana we can actually put. It is equivalent to the width of a quarter.
Look at that.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
How many people do that?
Nobody.
No. So if you want to slow and you don't want to do your big chunks, put some kind of nut butter on that peanut butter because it slows, you know what I mean? You actually chew it, or get, chunky peanut butter, whatever it is. Just make sure you chew.
Crunchy peanut butter. What kind of psychopath are you over there?
You don't like crunchy? You don't
I
like
do
little
not.
nut chunks?
I just found out. I've been with Frank, my husband, for 16 years, and I just found out he prefers crunchy peanut butter. And I was like, I
again, prefer crunchy. I mean, I don't like peanut butter.
You and Frank are going to have to live together.
But I do love the crunchy nut butters.
No, you guys are weird.
Maybe it's because you and Steve stress us out, so we need to actually use crunchy things before our aggravation.
I think Steve and I would have a great household. It'd be so fun, so relaxed.
It also could be an insufficiency in phosphorus.
I just don't like the texture, you weirdo. But aside from the crunchy peanut butter debate, the next question people are asking is, well, guys, how do I know if I have an overgrowth?
You just don't know how to pick it up, right? So if you have jock itch, if you have repetitive yeast infections, UTIs, if you have toenail fungus, if you have a white coating on your tongue, that oral thrush, if you have constantly an itchy top of the head or scabbing or dandruff, if you have, and it's more than just dry eyes, but in your eyelashes too, it's like that. It looks dead skin. Sometimes that could be candidiasis. If we have eczema, like that. So think about anything that goes crustacean. Because yeast is, I've seen a groin picture of yeast and it looked raw. That's the difference.
Some people, like if you're dealing with an overgrowth in the gut, maybe you have constipation, maybe you have diarrhea, maybe you have the acid reflux. You don't always need to have these things, but maybe those things are popping up. Maybe some people are getting headaches or stubborn weight, hormonal imbalances. This is a really big thing, is a lot of people think that, oh, I have hormonal acne. I'm like, yes, and you have hormonal acne. And guess what? If you have an overgrowth in your gut, that little subset of microbes, your estrobolome, which helps to metabolize your estrogen, it's going to be struggling. So you're going to be dealing with hormonal imbalances. So when we go way upstream from hormonal imbalances, estrogen dominance, all of those things, there's a big root driver of an imbalance in your gut's microbiome.
100%. I mean, even topple this, if we don't have the right foods, or we're overeating, say, the sugars, the alcohols, like all the things that we thoroughly enjoy as humans, right? Because it's delicious. The thing is we get low microbial diversity, and we also lose minerals either through constipation, incomplete evacuation, frequent loose stools. There's a lot going on in here, right? If we don't chew our food to a paste-like consistency again, and we have chunks, and then we rely on digestion to figure that out, well, we can't. Then we get the gut junctions that get stuck, that leaky gut, and then the immune system comes out and it's warding it off. We can only do that so long before they're like, ooh, thank you for all the toys. Why am I leaving? So all of these cofactors, these symptom patterns, really, they offer us clues. The symptoms alone cannot confirm an infection, fair? Or an overgrowth or whatever. I always call any overgrowth an infection because it is what it is. But if we have that, again, like you're saying, the upper abdominal burning, nausea, burping, what about early fullness? I never hear that.
Yes, early fullness.
Yeah. I'm eating, and then I just feel full right where the rib cage is. So that could be inconsistency with bile flow, right? Because we're not, too many fats and just slow motility and then being able to break it down. It could also be that protein, but again, it's that poor bile flow. It could be that reduced pancreatic enzyme activity. Then that reduces our bowel motility. I've also seen somebody come in completely asymptomatic, totally having E. coli. You know who I'm talking about. Totally having E. coli and be totally infested. And all of a sudden, then the face imploded. And when you see infection on the face, you see infection on the face. It is much different than, say, candida, or it's much different than, staph, strep, and what's the one I just said before? Yeah, those, mother of goodness. And then I can also, I don't know, I just see infection. I don't know how to explain it to people, but those ones I can see predominantly pretty quick.
If you want to see what we're talking about, you can go over to the website, katiestewartwellness.com, go to our podcast and type in Faith, Fayth. She was one of our clients on the podcast, and her before and afters are there. That's what, I'm not saying that's what all infections in it, but she was riddled with things. Like infections, like very high, like more so than the average client. So don't think that your skin has to look like that in order to be dealing with an overgrowth.
Yeah.
I think we can confidently say that Cris, 99.9% of our clients have had some level of overgrowth in their gut.
How do we not? I want to ask that question. I want everybody to question this. How do we not? If we've traveled, we've been exposed to things.
Food poisoning, stomach flu.
I mean, also just in a different environment. You know, there's some countries in the South that are very prone to staph, right? You know, straws and ice, and we're drinking the water again. If we have animals, you know, as much as we love them, more than our children in some cases, the fact is what happens again, right? We can become infected. The thing is we have to have the right terrain to combat it. So I always say to people, do you have the right terrain? And it's not that we have to go and buy an expensive GI map test. We totally can. Do you know what I mean? However, why not start with an HMA? Let's see where those minerals are. Let's see if we have potential heavy metal interconnections. Are they, you know, is this part of the fatigue? Let's rebalance the body a little bit. Let's give it some safety. Let's calm it down. Because if we go and attack, then what? Now we have a really hyper-vigilant person who's on edge, who doesn't feel good. And my goodness, if we have any of these other cofactors, then what happens? Well, it just exacerbates.
Exactly. So we've talked about the infection pathogens portion that we see so many on stool maps. And you kind of touched on the digestive part, but I want to go a little more in-depth into the digestion components we see, which is going to be low stomach acid, low pancreatic enzymes, and sluggish bile flow.
Yeah, that's so true. Not just that, but we can have low enzymatic output, right? So as an example, if we're eating constantly a higher sugar diet, even if it's coming from whole foods, it's just higher level. We are constantly calling on insulin to kind of come out, which is that hormone in that pathway. So, and if we're grazing, so, you know, we're constantly, so that's how we can also limit. And then it puts more pressure on the digestive. So when we have low stomach acid, then we can't break down our proteins. High stomach acid, you're in pain. Let's be honest. High stomach acid, remember, H. pylori can live high and low. However, when stomach acid is low, we have bacterial overgrowth 101. And it's not even supposed to be there. So why is it there? You know, it's just like, oh, what? They went on vacation too. They took a detour and just found themselves in a different area. And then when we go to the duodenum for our Americans and duodenum for our Canadians, still don't like the name duodenum. It doesn't sound weird.
Can you tell everybody what that is? Because not everybody remembers their biology.
No, I'm going to, but I'm just saying, like, where are we on this? Duodenum or duodenum?
I would say duodenum.
Duodenum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, duodenum sounds like...
Hey, but I'm like, here in Canada, we have such an eclectic way. We say American words, we say British words, the Canadian words. It's a whole cluster.
We also
here.
put U's in for absolutely no reason.
It's chaos in Canada.
I know, it's so weird. Anyways, so it's just one of those words. So that is the first part of the small intestines. It's the chemical hub. It's the alchemist. You know, it's going to be breaking down everything. You're going to have your amylase, your protease, your lipase to break down your proteins, fats, and fibers. You're going to have a little bit of your sodium bicarbonate come out so that it can reduce some of the stomach acid, just a little bit of the stomach acid, because we don't want to continue ulcers away down the way we go, right? And that's what can happen in high acidity. And then we're going to have, you know, insulin's going to do its thing through the pancreas. And then the gallbladder's going to say, let me play, and squirt out some bile salts. And that should start really, that's where the act of digestion is finished from the breakdown standpoint. Then we have the assimilation, the absorption, and the uptake, the reuptakes.
And the reason why this is so important for acne is if we have insufficient stomach acid, low stomach acid, we're not breaking our proteins down. And guess what? Your skin needs to repair protein. Your liver needs to function protein. If we're not breaking our food down with our pancreatic enzymes and our enzyme output, we're not getting all of the raw material that your body needs to function. If we have sluggish bile flow, we're going to be struggling to be breaking our fats down. Your hormones rely on fats for production. So you can see how there's this chain reaction. We're not breaking our food down. Our hormones aren't getting what they need. Our skin's not getting what it needs. Our detoxification system's not getting what it needs. And like the body is starving. So we're going to be seeing hormonal acne, increase in inflammation, toxicity, especially if we're looking at now the component of leading to constipation or diarrhea because we don't have the sufficient enzyme output and low stomach acid. And this is all contributing to our acne. I mean, we also have low stomach acid. It's going to be opening up the gates for overgrowth to be coming in.
Yeah. So the moneymaker here is why I would prefer the HMA over a gut is because when we see how the minerals align, we potentially, along with the case file, along with the person chatting with us, we start to see the low stomach acid, the poor enzymatic, like the insufficiencies. We see the stress compounds. We see the external environment, maybe the heavy metals that could be interplaying with these other things. So if these minerals are all off and wonky, then that's how it works. However, I mean, if we already know that we've done, I would say at least 8 weeks of reclaiming that nice calm terrain of a protocol, and you're like ready and, we're into the fall. So yeah, what do we want to do? This is the best time, right? We're hitting the fall. Like, things are starting to, be, like, what do we have? Apples and peaches and, those kind of fruits. But then we have the things growing in the ground coming up, like the turnips and the zucchinis and all the, I mean, I don't know. Zucchinis can grow on anything. Don't even get me started on those. They're like an anomaly. But these are the things, right? So that's what we want to look at. So we want to really I always like it in the fall.
I love to run a gut protocol 2 times a year. I love running it in like September. September, October, November is a great time to run it. And also a January, February, March.
Yeah, the winter months. Why? Because it can be a heavier way of eating as well. And we don't want to eat that heavy. Also, you mentioned protein. The other thing I want to say is if we can't get sufficient protein or we rely on the body in order to try and utilize this protein, it can put pressure onto the kidneys. And the kidneys are connected to acne. So are the electrolytes, so is clean blood.
Here she goes on the clean blood.
You need clean blood at the end.
I know. You do need some clean blood. Okay, so
third... I don't make this up.
She doesn't. Third component that we see on gut tests is going to be intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people love to throw their omega-3s in here, and I'm like, ew. And you don't have to do it my way, that's fine, but then it's wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, but because the omega-3s, they have to be absorbed into the intestinal cavity. So if we already have issues or you've been on omega-3 for a while and you're not seeing really gains, that's one thing. It's just because we need certain parts of that intestinal cavity to, take it up to where it needs to go and reuptake bile acids. So that's what I mean, right? So sometimes I always say to people, if you want to check, do your omega-3s and then do your short and medium chain fatty acids. Try some of those to see because they bypass digestion.
And like when we're looking at that leaky gut component, what essentially that means is your gut linings become irritated and the tight little cells in there, they get pulled apart and they allow for microscopic undigested food particles, toxins, bacteria that aren't supposed to be in your bloodstream into your bloodstream. And then your body's like, whoa, hey there, you're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here? And it throws up a red flag, an immune response. And it's like, you're not supposed to be here. And this is going to be a cascading effect into inflammation, which is going to lead to breakouts on your skin. And this is where a lot of people say, oh, gluten causes acne, dairy causes acne. It doesn't cause acne, but it can sure trigger it. And there's a difference between a cause and a trigger because a trigger is something that has been is like a food sensitivity is being triggered triggering your acne. So when we have a food sensitivity to gluten or dairy, it's because we're dealing with gut inflammation, leaky gut, and the body's like, whoa, okay, immune response here. we're going to be triggering inflammation. We're going to be leading to acne. So food sensitivities is actually a symptom of poor gut health alongside acne.
Exactly. And how many times, how many times have we gotten a GI or a Dutch, as an example, as people's primary, and we have to go back to these foundations?
Every time. Especially Dutches, where people come like, can I run a Dutch? Because I want to see my hormones. I'm like, nope, not right now.
5 years ago, we were like, okay, no problem. Until we started, I mean, we knew it, but it's like, we're like, okay, no problem. You know what I mean? But again, we started running them and running them and running them. And I think, what did we do at like 6 months? And we were like, this is insane. Why are we doing this?
Because every one of them came back as gut inflammation, and we can't work on your hormones until we fixed your gut. So like, you're just wasting money. Like, I love a Dutch, don't get me wrong, run them on myself. But if you haven't worked on your gut health and you jump straight to your Dutch, it's just a waste of money.
Yeah. And sorry for all the practitioners out there to just sell those. You can just ignore us.
Well, we're talking about acne, people. We're talking about acne here.
Yeah, because we just really want the body to be responding. The other thing with acne, and please remember, is there's a mental psyche that's attached to acne, right? And that stress is something I see all the time in any single functional test. It doesn't matter. So why we're saying this is because simply it's spend the least amount of money, follow it, and then if it's still, then go and dig. Because once you do that, that GI map as an example, or that Dutch, once you do those, by the time you're out of that first protocol, it's no longer relevant. I do like, as a starting point, I'm like, okay, this is, yeah. And then what did you do? Okay, you did this and this and this. Okay. And then they're like, why am I reapplying this? I said, because your body couldn't tolerate it here before. This is why we're still here. Right? This is why you got sick. How many people have come in with them and said, I did this and I was so sick. And then I will see their minerals and their sulfur pathways are completely like jammed.
Yeah, jammed. And they're like, oh, and like, let's explain what that means for people that don't know what sulfur pathways.
Detoxification, sluggish. So they're just blocked. There's a bunch of crud. There's a whole bunch of leaves in our gutters, and we have to go take that out before the rain can actually go down the eaves trough. So that's what it means. So, and the thing is minerals don't shift that quick. So even though I just had a client give me, was it her GI map from 2024? Maybe even earlier. And I got her HMA, and she was like, why are you correlating it that far? I said, because I want to show you the train is speaking the exact same language. I said, I can do it here, and I did, and I can do it here for the other two that she had. I said, but I'm going back to the first one to show you, and her blood labs as well.
And that's the thing is, when we work with our clients, and Cris, like, how many gut protocols have we run? Like thousands and thousands and thousands of gut protocols at this point.
Listen, everybody could do a gut protocol. Everybody. Just at the right time, you want to be able to do it. So if you've, like Katie, like you have like clear skin and you have all these other little things, if people have already done those, then it makes sense. If they've really plowed down and like rocked it out, yeah, go into it. In the fall, go into it. In the early winter, go into it. Best time. So this is the now time.
And what I did is, because we've actually never, in all of the whole decade we've been doing this, I've never put out just a gut protocol or a gut off, like a gut course, I guess I could say. So that's what I really wanted to do leading into the fall is just today, I launched the new gut reset that we've put together, because if you're like, well, how do I go and eradicate this? And it's like, this is way more than we can tell you in a 30-minute podcast. Because when we run gut protocols, at minimum, they're going to be 12 weeks. So, and they're going to be like, there's a lot of information. Like when you go in and if you grab the gut reset that I just put out today, you're going to see how in-depth this is. So I put all of this into a mini course that you can do on your own, that is walking you through how to do this first layer of eradication, of rebalancing your gut microbiome. And this is what we do with clients in the Clear Skin Solution. This is what we've done with them. Out of the thousands of protocols that we've done, we've been able to create one that this has taken us years to develop, by the way, because for years, Cris is like, nope, we're not putting this out front facing because it needs to be like, it needs to be customized. It needs to be this. But Cris and I worked really hard to find a way to give a really solid gut protocol that we can give to everybody. So that's why I put it into this new gut reset that is available today. Go and grab that. So if you've done clear skin in 30 days, this is a great next step. And I also am teaching you, also walking you through how to repair your gut lining. So that leaky gut. So we're working on leaky gut, digestion, and infections all in one in this new mini course I put together, all in the show notes.
Yeah. And it's like we're trying to, at this point, we're killing and eradicating because you spent time calming it. So we have that terrain. And then after that, to rebalance, you can actually go back to what you learned already and reapply that. So, I mean, it's a good domino effect.
Yeah. So let me tell you that your gut is such a massive component, and we run a gut protocol for almost every single client that we've ever worked with. And over the decade of us doing this, we finally have a way to make this public facing for you to be able to grab it. So I highly encourage you, even if you haven't grabbed one of our mini courses before, go and check the show notes, click on the link and grab it, because this is going to be your best friend. And it's at a great price right now. So grab it now. You can start in September. You can even wait until January to do it, whatever works best for you. But this is going to be such a powerful protocol.
And it's complete. It's fully complete. It's not like, oh, you have to go over here to get this next little piece and you have to go over here. Like, this is the protocol.
I literally want you to open, like with any course I've ever created, my mini courses, I want you to open this and be like, I can't believe she charged me this little. Like, I feel like I'm stealing. I got it for such a good deal. I put so much stuff into it.
See, because Katie loves to shop and she's like, oh my God, a buy one, get one. I just stole. This was so good.
Like I said, is at the beginning of the year, I really wanted to be able to start making health more affordable for more people, because not everybody can go and spend thousands of dollars on a coaching program. So I've really been trying to figure out ways to put this into $50, like $90 options that you can grab that is filled with so much information that, to be honest, if I'm being honest, probably 5 years ago, for any one of these courses I put together, probably would have charged $500 for them. Yeah, but now I'm like, no, everybody, let's put it on the budget. So you guys, let me tell you, we have run hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gut tests and thousands of labs over the years. And the eradication component is such a crucial, critical part. So we need to be making sure we're getting rid of the bad stuff, repopulating the good, getting our digestion working, and healing the gut lining to reduce inflammation to clear up your skin. That's it, everybody. All right, so this might be an episode you might want to go back and re-listen to. But like I said, if you want to go and check out the new gut course that I put together, that is in the show notes. As always, we will see you next. Oh, and we forgot to mention, Cris, is for the remainder of the fall is we're going to be going down to a once a month podcast episode.
This is a Cris busy season, so I appreciate everybody's patience.
Cris and her teaching, everybody. But that's okay. We're going to jam pack our monthly podcast. So if you're a regular listener, don't panic. We're just going to be doing them monthly for the rest of the season.
And go back and like, how many seasons do we have? Really,
4.
Go back.
There's hundreds of episodes.
And re-listen, because I know people are like, I didn't hear that the first time, or I couldn't take it in because you're a little bit newer, or it's a new concept. So yeah, please do.
And just go to our website, KatieStewartWellness.com, go to the podcast section and just type in a keyword. That'll be the easiest way for you to be able to go in and like open see what you want to listen to. All right, everybody, another fun-filled episode of Keep It Clear. We'll see you next time.